This estate agent has a fall-through rate of 7% on his sales. Today, I'm joined by Alex Knight, who is an estate agent in Maidstone, and he is a massive fan of reservation agreements. Not all of his sales have reservation agreements, but the ones that do have a fall-through rate in single digits. Alex, talk to me about reservation agreements.
So we launched our company wanting to be different. Now, when we were first launching, I got talking to Brian Mansell.
Love him.
Very influential, very headstrong, which is probably one of the reasons that we get on so well. And he started talking to me, one of the big problems was sales falling through left, right and centre. It's one of sellers' biggest fears. Once they've agreed the sale, what's going to go wrong? And he started talking to me about reservation agreements. And sat down with Sam, and we thought, this is a great idea. It's a unique selling point, if nothing else.
Yep.
Well, let's run with it. Let's see how it works. Now, I started by calling Brian and asking him to see a copy of his reservation agreement. I'll be honest, the idea at the time was, let's have a little read and see if we can do something ourselves. Probably shouldn't admit that, but the plan was, can we get it, plagiarise it, make it our own? We got it. We read through it and thought, actually, this is brilliant. And talked to Brian about the systems, the ways that they enforce the reservation agreements, the arbitration. Well, it'd be silly for us to try and do something ourselves when we can just do it with...
Plug and play.
Yeah, plug and play, when we've got it plug and play. And also, they've thought of things that I would never have dreamed about thinking about. Things that I would never have dreamed of thinking about. So, plus the fact that the more I talked to Brian, the more I saw, well, actually, this guy just gets it. This guy's got some very good ideas. He's very switched on. He's someone that I want to work with. So we embraced it. While we was designing our business, we fully integrated reservation agreements into what we were going to do. It was integrated into our marketing materials, our market appraisal pitch, everything that we delivered, post-appraisal, listing, it very much integrated at listing stage. And when it came to sales, our sellers knew exactly where we were going with it, and they were so bought into it that they wanted reservation agreements. So during the first 18 months of launching the company, 70% of our sales had reservation agreements. Not everybody wanted to do it. Interesting hearing some of the objections, and when you sit down and you break down those objections, you realise...
And that's objections from vendors, is it?
Vendors and buyers. We can touch on a couple of examples in a minute, but there's some that just said, look, I hear what you're saying, I just want to roll with this. Okay, we'll roll with it.
That's vendors or landlords? Sorry, that's vendors or purchasers?
A bit of both.
Okay. I'd be very interested to know if the vendor wants it, the buyer doesn't.
Sometimes that happens. But if you've only got one offer on the table, they've then got a decision, are they going to take the risk?
It's when you have multiple offers that and one wants it and one doesn't.
So I'll tell you a story of one. We had first of all, reservation agreements, from the outset, when you're agreeing offers, they sort the wheat from the chaff. So we had a property that had come to us as a result of some of our marketing materials. We write to other agents' stock when the sale falls through, and we talk to them about how we can avoid it happening again. It's quite successful. So we wrote to them about reservation agreements. And they called us up and they said, look, can you come round? We went round, sat down with them. Nothing wrong with the marketing, nothing wrong with the price. Clearly, they'd sold the property. So we went and we marketed the property, did our own spin on it, but similar level of quality of marketing, put it on the market. And first weekend, busy market at the time, 11 viewers at the open house, 2 offers. We had a first-time buyer and a cash buyer, both at the asking price. I said to the seller, look, what do you want to do? We've done a couple of rounds at these buyers. They're not going to increase beyond this. These are the best offers we've got. The cash buyer seems the obvious candidate. I said, look, we've talked about the reservation agreements. Are you happy for me to turn around to them and say, we'll accept your offer subject to a reservation agreement? He said, yeah, absolutely. No, it needs to have a reservation agreement. Cool. Called the buyer. They said, well, we don't really want to do a reservation agreement. I said, okay. What, out of interest, why would you not want a reservation agreement? The seller's offering you commitment here that they're not going to allow you to be gazumped or gazumped as you go through. They're not going to change their mind and pull out and stay where they are. They're offering you commitment that they're going to see this through to exchange. Why would you not want to accept that commitment and offer the same level of commitment? And I got a couple of wishy-washy excuses. Well, we don't want to pay the reservation fee. I said, that's fine. I can talk to the sellers. The sellers will probably pay the reservation fee for you. All you've got to do is sign a bit of paper. If the sale falls through, you get £2,000 compensation. But you've got to offer commitment not to pull out. Otherwise, you'll be the one paying the compensation. And they said, well, no, we're not going to do this. They said the law in the UK is different to other countries. We reserve the right to pull out right up until exchange of contracts, and we want to reserve that right. Quick call to the seller. Look, we've got another buyer on the table here. What do you want to do? Do you want me to just play hardball, reservation agreement or no deal? He said, yeah, do that. Called him up. Look, if you're not prepared to sign the reservation agreement, we've not got a deal. Their words to me, okay, that's fine. We'll carry on with the property we're currently buying. And I'm sat there thinking, so hang on a minute, hang on a minute. You want your offer accepted, but you don't want to sign a reservation agreement because you're pulling out of one deal and you want to reserve the right to do it again. Okay, quick call to the first-time buyers. Look, we've got another offer on the table. It's a cash buyer, but you seem very committed to this deal. If you're prepared to commit to this deal in the form of a reservation agreement, we'll accept your offer. Fantastic. Accepted the offer. They proceeded off to exchange of contracts, 12 weeks or whatever it was. Everyone lived happily ever after, apart from the cash buyer.
So, I mean, we don't want this to turn into an advert for Gazelle.
Yeah, other reservation agreements do exist. There's other companies.
Okay. Upon saying that, though, an awful lot of my clients do use Gazelle. And as I said, other reservation agreements are available.
It's like the BBC.
Well, I have to, mate. I have to.
We'll just have to beep out the name.
No, we don't. We can keep the name in. So, what percentage of your sales in the last 12 months have been on reservation agreements then?
In the last 12 months, it's about 50%.
Okay. But still 50% is better than no percent. And your fall through rate's been what?
7% of the ones with reservation agreements.
And what's your fall through rate been on the other 50% without?
Well, overall, we're on 19%, so reverse engineering that, probably somewhere in the mid to late 30s for the ones without reservations.
What would your recommendation, unless they're in Maidstone, by the way, what would your recommendation be for any agent considering reservation agreements?
It's interesting you sound less than in reservations. I had a call from Brian. So-and-so, your competitors, called me to ask me if they can come on board with Gazelle. Without hesitation, I said yes.
Yes, because it's helping you out, isn't it?
That wasn't the reason. The reason being, I want this to become law. The government's How to Sell Guide, they have a How to Sell Guide, not just a How to Rent Guide, published in 2019. Centre page on the left-hand side, in bold writing, will your buyer consider a reservation agreement? The government recommend it. Why is this not commonplace in our industry? Why are our chains, top to bottom, not fully reserved, fully protected?
Because you can still get out if there's a problem with the survey, can't you?
Yeah, there's various different grounds for reasonable withdrawal. If two or more mortgage lenders have refused the mortgage, that's not your fault. As long as you've entered the transaction in good faith with an agreement in principle, that's reasonable grounds for withdrawal. If the surveyor uncovers urgent remedial works that equate to more than 1% of the purchase price, if the chain breaks down elsewhere, somewhere that's not reserved, if there's an unsatisfactory title, all these reasonable grounds that you employ a conveyancer to investigate for you, they're still reasonable to pull out on. What you can't do is pull out because there's a blocked gutter. Had someone try that, didn't work. What you can't have is someone that pull out because there's a hole in the ceiling all the way through to the roof, because when we walked around on the viewing, it was quite obvious there was a bucket collecting water. That's not reasonable grounds to withdraw because it's blindingly obvious.
Can you see sales that, people throw their rattle out their pram because, either exchange that week or not? That stops that, does it?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, sometimes people like to huff and puff. But look, the main reason that people do huff and puff is fear. The closer you get to exchange of contracts, the more stressed they're becoming, the more is at stake, the more fearful they are that the sale is going to fall through. And what we tend to find is when you've got the reservation agreement in place, people aren't as fearful. There's a lot more faith in the transaction. So they don't get as heated. And the ones that do, they know that because let's face it, as soon as you start threatening to withdraw, it never achieves the desired objective. It just escalates things.
Yes.
But having a reservation makes people think twice about making that threat. While they can still huff and puff, that threat is never really a live threat.
No.
You're firing blanks.
You said you used the reservation agreements in your marketing.
Mm.
What sort of messages are you putting out that actually attracts people to ring you in for that? Because let's be honest, the last thing we need is an estate agent say, "Hi, I do reservation agreements," because most estate agents don't even know what a reservation agreement is, let alone.
Well, it's interesting. There's one of the interview questions that I ask when I'm interviewing other agents is, what are your unique selling points where you work? And they rattle off all the usuals. They're never unique. A reservation agreement is pretty unique. It's a sad state of affairs that it is unique, because I wish it was commonplace, but it is unique. So it's something different that we can talk to people about. And it's also something that we're passionate about. And I think when we're talking about reservation agreements, when we're sat on someone's sofa, that passion really comes across.
So I'm sure there are other estate agents who have reservation agreements but don't have the take up because they don't necessarily believe in it, but you do.
Well, there's multiple other agents. I mean, if you talk to Brian at Gazelle, they've actually disinstructed more agents than they've instructed this year, because they haven't fully bought into the vision. Because they take up reservation agreements so they can use it as a trick up their sleeve when they're out on listings, but they never use them. We do. Every single sale that we're putting together, we are pushing to get a reservation agreement in place.
And do you use it in your marketing in any way in terms of, messages and things like that?
Yeah, so we use Spectre to send out letters to all other agents' stock. When we see a sale fall through, we want to talk to them about how we can prevent that from happening again. Because 9 times out of 10, the reasons that sale's fallen through are fairly trivial.
And you can pick, and you found that really useful to get more stock, especially now as more houses are selling with the second agent.
It's probably one of our biggest sources of growth as we've grown as a company, picking up other agents' fall-throughs. And the tragic part is, if other agents caught up and started doing something about this, I mean, let's face it, it's a renowned industry problem, 35% of sales falling through. I mean, what other industry would tolerate that? None. But why aren't we doing anything about it? And other agents that don't do anything about it, well, yeah, we go around, we have a little chat with the customers, and they come to us, they look for different ways, and do you know what? When we next agree a sale, we put a reservation agreement in place. Why wouldn't you?
Everyone's a winner.
Yeah.
Alex, thank you for your time today. As I said, other reservation agreements are available. It's just that Alex said he was very passionate about how Gazelle have helped him with reservation, him and Sam with reservation agreements. A lot of my clients use Gazelle. Gazelle don't even know this video is taking place, so they certainly haven't paid us. But Brian, you do owe me a pint.
And me.
We'll make sure you take him up on that one. Thank you for your time today, Alex.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.